Now, back to the Larry Kudlow Show.
Welcome back, folks. We're going to bring in our legal beagle because the Supreme Court made some very important decisions yesterday. Gregg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst, and his latest book is The Constitution of the United States and Other Patriotic Documents. Gregg Jarrett, welcome. Gregg Jarrett, I miss you. I have not seen you.
Well, I'm here and ready and available for you anytime.
All right. Well, you're the best of the best. So let's look at this. You got two big decisions. You got the so-called Enron decision, and then you've got the Chevron deference decision. Can we start with the Enron decision, Greg? Walk us through that.
Well, this is another example of the United States Supreme Court having to fix the sophomoric mistakes of rogue prosecutors at the DOJ and under Merrick Garland and Joe Biden. They have consistently misused and contorted the law. They do it for political purposes. And then, of course, they get spanked by the Supreme Court. In this case, they were bringing improper charges against 330 some odd people for their actions on January 6th. They tried to force fit this obstruction statute derived from the Enron debacle. But, I mean, all you have to do, Larry, is read the statute. It's about corrupting evidence and tampering with documents. Well, that's not what happened on January 6th. And so the Supreme Court said, you can't do that. And that now means that 300 plus people who were falsely prosecuted may have their convictions either tossed or modified. For Donald Trump, of course, it means Jack Smith may have to rewrite his indictment to circumvent his way around the Supreme Court, which I think he'll do. Understand that there are 4 charges in the J6 case against Trump, and 2 of those charges, half of his case, was essentially gutted by the Supreme Court yesterday. Of course, we're still waiting for the big kahuna, which is on Monday. The Supreme Court will decide immunity for presidents.
Greg, if he rewrites the charges, so the Enron decision takes out 2 of the 4 charges. If he rewrites the charges, does that postpone the whole J6 process?
It does. And look, even if he doesn't rewrite it with a superseding indictment and tries to claim, well, there was some document manipulation and false, elector certificates filed, that falls under, the obstruction statute. That'll have to be litigated, Larry. That's going to take weeks, if not months. I mean, and plus, I do think the Supreme Court on Monday will extend the civil immunity to criminal protection for all presidents, and that will further delay it. In my mind, there's no way that Jack Smith can get his case before a jury prior to the election.
Yes. Very important, extremely important stuff politically, because all that stuff's the lawfare stuff, so that's fading away. The other one, of course, finally, the Supremes took more power away from all this, the regulators, the administrative state, the regulatory state, the fourth branch of government. This is the Chevron deference issue. Give us a couple of morsels on that one.
Well, the Chevron case was one in a string of wrongful, mind-boggling decisions by the liberal Burger Court in the 1980s, which also included Roe versus Wade. The Supreme Court finally said, you know what? Those justices back then, 40-some-odd years ago, got it all wrong. Because the Chevron decision told judges, you have to defer to various federal regulatory agencies' interpretations of vague laws. Well, agencies aren't capable of that. They're not lawyers, most of them. And so, that Chevron decision has been tossed out. That wrongful decision so many years ago is one of the reasons why we have this bloated bureaucracy today, all powerful, unelected, administrative agencies who tell small businesses, medium and large businesses what to do, how to do it. And the increased cost gets passed on to consumers, which contributed immensely to higher expenses and inflation for consumers for the last 4 decades. And every year it got worse and worse and worse.
And throwing a wet blanket over the economy, particularly the smaller business economy, with these little businesses can't afford high-priced lawyers to fight the regulators.
Right.
And so it's a very important economic decision. And it goes, Greg, it goes along with the court which ruled on West Virginia versus EPA. They ruled in favor of West Virginia. So that was one that pinned the regulatory ears back in the EPA. This one's even broader, right? Pins back all the regulators.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think it affects every federal regulatory agencies. And, Larry, you need a calculator to keep track of the number of them. They keep growing by leaps and bounds every year. It happened under Obama. Trump, as you know, because you were there, pulled back the regulations to the great relief of consumers and businesses across America. And then, of course, Joe Biden reversed it, and the regulatory state became even more abusive and expensively onerous.
Yes, and Trump was proud of that in the debate. Rightly so. Rightly so. Put it right out there. There's nothing Biden can say about it. Because the regulatory state, Newt Gingrich several years ago called it big government socialism. Those guys, and Steve Forbes railed on about it. Those guys are like a fourth branch of government, and that is very bad. There's no constitution for that.
Talk about fascism and authoritarianism. That's what the liberal courts created 4 decades ago, and people like Joe Biden want more of it. Mm-hmm. It's sort of the Marxist socialist state of the government, just like the Soviet Union, micromanaging everything that everyone does. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. It's so harmful.
100%. Gregg Jarrett, thank you very much. Folks, go and buy Gregg's book, The Constitution of the United States and Other Patriotic Documents. It's a great read. Fox News Legal Analyst. Thank you, Gregg. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Talk soon. Get you back on the TV show. Folks, take a break. And then the great Kellyanne Conway, the smartest political advisor. She'll be here to talk about the debates and many other things. I'm Kudlow. We'll be right back.